His first encounter was June 10th, 1982. He was following a herd of elk. He noticed some strange activity, so he got out of his truck to follow them on foot when he started to smell something that just wasn't normal. He started around a little corner in that logging spur road, and here come, in his own words, this critter that stepped down off this 10-foot bank with one step.
This was just the first of many encounters with the unexplained. A special team conducting training exercises in the snowy wilderness in early 1994 encountered the same phenomenon. They began tracking Bigfoot, one of the most legendary mythological creatures rumored to inhabit the forests of the United States and Canada, particularly in the states of Oregon, Kentucky, and Washington. It was the perfect moment for an unexpected encounter with the legendary cryptid, as this time of year often sees numerous sightings of its appearance. However, the team was focused on accomplishing their primary mission, a strategic reconnaissance operation that involved stealthy observation. Nonetheless, they unexpectedly stumbled upon something unsettling that prompted them to hastily return to base.
Did not know what it was. He did know immediately that it was not a bear. His first thought was every picture that he had ever seen of prehistoric man, except that it was more ape-like in the face.
What was this mysterious discovery that caused experienced fighters to abandon their mission zone? Preparation for this mission was thorough. They equipped themselves with skis for quick movement across the snowy plains, and their backpacks were filled with tents and other necessary items. Despite their meticulous preparation, the encounter with the inexplicable reminded them of the importance of experience and caution when exploring the untamed nature of Alaska, where even the most prepared can find themselves on the brink of the unknown. The team, equipped for their snowy expedition, began their journey from Fairbanks, aiming to traverse the challenging terrain eastward past Alaskan Air Force Base. Their path confronted them with steep ridges, deep valleys, marshy areas, and dense forests. As they navigated through the thick bush, Captain Miles prioritized safety, contemplating whether to proceed through a particularly rough area or take a safer route around it. Then, as they cautiously made their way through the snow, they came upon a startling discovery: enormous footprints, which were about 18 to 19 inches long and 5 feet apart. The enormity of the tracks raised questions about the identity of the creature, and one soldier's attempt to imitate the footprint pattern, which ended with him sinking into the snow, confirmed that the creature was not human. The men were momentarily taken aback by the imposing evidence, but they were also intrigued by the possibility of discovering an amazing feature of Alaskan wildlife. At that point, the creature made itself known to one of the team members, who happened to catch a glimpse of it and notices that its massive chest muscles heaving as it breathed. This encounter added a layer of mystery to what had initially appeared to be a routine training mission.
It looked at him about the same time that he looked at it, and he said that it kind of stopped and he could hear it breathing. He was close enough, and he could see the stomach muscles and its chest moving as it was.
Eager for answers, the team sought the expertise of their sergeant, the best tracker in the group. After analyzing the footprints, the sergeant estimated that the creature stood around 9 feet tall and weighed between 500 to 700 pounds, impressive dimensions that ruled out any human origin for the tracks. Determined to uncover more about this elusive giant, the team decided to follow the trail it had left behind, gaining insights into how the creature had deftly maneuvered through the snow-laden forest. The tracks revealed a clever navigation strategy, tracing the tops of ridges and weaving through the dense trees, hinting at how the creature managed to remain hidden from human eyes for so long. This route that crossed over the lower sections of the ridges indicated to them that the creature was actually quite familiar with this terrain. This also suggested that it was intelligent, because it maintained similar tactics with the team when it was attempting to avoid detection. As you can imagine, this was just another factor that made the team more interested in this mysterious creature that they were following through the woods. Eager to get to the bottom of the mystery, the team decided to push on with the search for this strange being.
And then it started to walk off, stopping a couple times to look back at him before leaving the area. It set off a 15-year obsession where literally all he wanted to do was prove to people that they existed and that he was not crazy.
Once this was decided, the team realized that it would not be an easy task to continue with their tracking mission. They knew that they had to make their way through the deep snow before them. As you can imagine, This was a big hindrance to the men as they made their way through the forest. Despite this factor significantly slowing down their progress, they were able to push on thanks to the fact that they were fully equipped with everything they needed to maneuver through the snow.
The especially snowy places started to submit to their will with their skis and snowshoes. They were able to trek for several hours as a result. Unfortunately, the group quickly realized that they would run out of daylight, and they decided that it might be best to set up camp so they could end the day. After making this decision, the group slept in one location and went about cleaning up their sleeping space, cooking, and eating before prepared to fall asleep in their sleeping bag. Yes, they had had an eventful day, but as time would soon prove, such a day was far from ended. In the depths of night, the squad was sound asleep around 9 or 10 o'clock. Everything appeared to be going smoothly until Miles abruptly woke up at 4 in the morning. There seemed to be this strange howl or roar that broke through the stillness of the night, and to be honest, everyone on the team should have woken up.
My dad had been finding evidence of them. He was finding footprints. He would go in the morning before the sun came up when he got off work, because he worked night shift at the time, and he thought they were coming early.
It was understandable that Miles would believe he had been awakened by a lone wolf given the description. After all, this species was omnipresent in the Alaskan bush. Still, there was something peculiar about this sound. To begin with, one could reasonably infer that a wolf does not always howl once. Wolves move in packs, do not they? Beyond this, there was also the additional distinction that this sound made compared to that of a wolf. Miles could not help but believe that this howl, which seemed to be considerably deeper than a wolf's, was coming from something much bigger because of how guttural it was. With his senses sharpened, Miles continued to listen in the hope of learning more about this weird monster crying in the night. The howling gradually stopped, but it did not last for long. After around 15 minutes, Miles was startled by another howling sound. What in the world was happening? The second howl was even scarier because it appeared to have moved much closer to Miles and his guys. The sounds appeared so faint at first that it almost fooled him. However, it started to grow louder, and with that, Miles began to feel frightened as he speculated about the chance that something large and violent was making its way through the forest towards himself and his men. Being a reasonable leader, he knew he couldn't let that happen. To maintain some semblance of resolve, Miles silently hoped that all this noise was created by something relatively harmless, such as a wolf. After all, it couldn't be a bear at this time of year. With all the snow, the bears in the area were surely hibernating. Then again, if they had somehow disturbed a hibernating bear, they would be in a lot more trouble than they could ever imagine. As Miles continued to ponder what might be moving toward him and his men, his alarm was growing. Suddenly, the noise seemed to stop somewhere around 100 feet away from them. Unsurprisingly, Miles found no solace in the silence. In fact, paranoia began to settle in as he struggled to regain control of the situation. Fortunately, some of the others were finally stirring to life, so now they could all join in, wondering what lurked in the dark. As the scene escalated in intensity, not only did the troubling howling finally cease, but even the little bit of wind that had been blowing throughout the night came to a standstill. You could have easily heard a pin drop during those tense moments. With this uneasy silence hanging over them, Miles knew he had to ensure that he and his team remained vigilant. He was certain that whatever was out there hadn't left. In fact, it had simply stopped advancing, and that didn't mean it wasn't still stalking them in the darkness. The only thing he didn't know was what it was. He could feel that the creature was just pacing where it was.
August 20th, 1992. He starts to drive home, and then he thinks, well, why not? I'll go up there, maybe there's fresh footprints, maybe I can get some nice casts. It's later than usual, and the first thing he notices are these footprints right there by the water. And so he gets his video camera out to start filming those prints, and he walked right upon one. Him thinking that they were there earlier than he was not entirely correct. They were watching him, and they were waiting for him to leave.
The creature moved back and forth, presumably deciding the fate of the men it was stalking in the darkness. This was probably due to the loud rustling noises it was generating, while maintaining its distance from Miles and his men. Fortunately for Miles, and the handful of guys who had been monitoring the situation while the others slept, the tension was palpable enough to wake the entire team from their slumber. Before long, each tent opened up as the men emerged to uncover what had been causing all the commotion during such an ungodly hour. After observing the strange movements in the darkness, the team realized that the rustling sounds created by the creature had come to a sudden halt. The forest, once alive with the sounds of crickets and frogs, was now enveloped in an unsettling silence that sent shivers down the spines of the team. This eerie quietude, more disconcerting than they could have anticipated, shattered suddenly with a chilling howl that escalated into a horrifying roar, so terrifying that some would later claim it sounded more like a scream. As fear gripped the team, the reality of their situation became even more daunting, especially as they realized they had no live ammunition on their mission through the snow-laden woods. This lack of preparedness led them to consider abandoning their task entirely, fearing for their safety. Just as they were grappling with their decision, another bone-chilling sound pierced the air, a tree being uprooted and toppled over, confirming that they were not alone. The oppressive tension mounted as the team witnessed the massive trees around them sway and fall, their loud crashes echoing through the stillness. Understanding that their own survival was at stake, they sprang into action, hastily packing their gear despite the lingering darkness of early dawn. Amidst this chaos, Miles and some of the other team members felt compelled to investigate the source of the disturbances. They discovered large footprints in the snow surrounding their campsite, eerily reminiscent of those they had found the previous day. The footprints led to a broken pine tree, about 12 inches in diameter and ripped in half at a height of 35 feet, suggesting a formidable presence in the woods. Each new discovery deepened the fear and tension among them as they pondered the dark unknown that has stalked them through the night, leaving them with more questions than answers. The unsettling atmosphere only intensified as they confronted the chilling implications of their finding, knowing that whatever had caused this chaos was still at large in the Alaskan wilderness.
I remember coming upstairs, and here's my dad standing there, and he's shaking. I always tell people that that's the only time in my entire life that I ever saw my dad scared of anything. And I was with my dad when he died. That's the only proof I'll ever need for the existence of Bigfoot, because I saw it on his face and I saw it in his eyes, and I know that.
Here's how a special ops team inadvertently stumbled into an encounter with Bigfoot while navigating the treacherous Alaskan wilderness, and how they chose to deal with the chilling experience. The team, emboldened by their mission, soon found themselves grappling with signs that suggested they were not alone in the dense forest. The sheer might of a creature capable of uprooting a 35-foot pine tree left them uneasy. As night fell, the haunting realization that something may have been stalking them weighed heavily on their minds, particularly for Miles, the team leader. He understood all too well the importance of discretion and the potential consequences if their frightening encounter were to leak out. Recognizing the gravity of their situation, Miles insisted on silence. His reasoning was grounded not only in the desire to maintain professionalism, but also to keep his team focused on their objective. For him, dwelling on the terrifying specter of an unknown creature could compromise their mission and put them at further risk. The men silently agreed, aware that the forces of nature in this unforgiving wilderness were beyond their control. As they concluded their mission 2 nights later, the team decided once more to keep their unsettling experience under wraps. They whispered among themselves, speculating about the cryptid believed to inhabit the area, but stopped short of naming Bigfoot. Their successful mission, shadowed by the specter of fear, was one they wished to celebrate without the weight of the unknown. In this way, the Special Ops team emerged from the depths of the Alaskan wilderness, navigating both the challenges of their mission and the unnerving presence that had haunted their steps. What was intended to be a standard operation transformed into an encounter with the legendary, leaving them with stories best kept within the bounds of their own minds, a testament to the mysteries that lie hidden in the wild.